Hey everybody, welcome to my new channel, Tales from the Treadmill. I am Toby Bittenbender. Here we talk about my past addiction issues, the road to recovery, and now, going into the light of sobriety. And when I say that, going into the light, it's because my whole life feels so much lighter now. It's like the weight has been lifted off of my shoulders now that I'm sober. So I just want to jump into it. And, yesterday I spoke about the effects of, and getting into the drug ecstasy. This was the late 90s into the early 2000s. Our band Jibe was, on its way up. We had recorded an album, CD, whatever you want to call it, In My Head. We recorded that at the Curtain Club in Deep Ellum with James McWilliams. And we had released that. We were touring, and all we did was tour, rehearse, or party. Calling it partying still, because in that time I still thought we were just partying and hanging out, having a good time. So this segment of the story, I'm going to go into the years 2000 to 2003, because that's when things went bonkers. Things exploded for the band, and also in my personal life. Things were just insane. If you've watched the videos up until this point, it starts to get crazy now. So if that makes any sense, this is when it really gets crazy, and all of the stupid mistakes and decisions were made during this period of time, and another whole thing where I just thank God every day that I'm just alive after all of this. So from this point on, 2000 to 2003, the band was blowing up. We were writing new songs after In My Head for our follow-up to that. We were going to go in the studio and record. I wrote a song called Yesterday Is Gone. We recorded it. It was an amazing experience. I'll probably talk about all that stuff in a different way at some point, but the band was blowing up. We were selling out the Curtain Club in Deep Ellum. Lines were wrapped around the door. So when that happens, and all of the other stuff just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. I mean, you've got hundreds of people showing up to your shows. And they know, it was no secret that we partied. I mean, it was pretty much stated from the stage every night that we freaking played, that we were down to party and all that stuff. So it was a known thing back then. So, I mean, there were literally, I'd be at a show. I always showed up early at the shows because I like to hang out with people and, thank people for coming to the shows. I just thought it was amazing that was happening, and I still do. And that people wanted to come and check out our band and our music and stuff like that. So I would show up early, and I remember there was this guy, man, I can't remember who it is, but there was a guy that would come up to me and at certain shows, and he'd walk up, "Hey man, how's it going?" And he'd slap a bag of pills in my hand. And I mean, it was just a plethora of pills, and I didn't know what they were, I had never even heard of Xanax. I didn't even know what it was. And there's these little 4-bar pills in there, and I think, a quick story, I had been doing some of the white, because, I did that on occasion. When I said that I quit that, I meant I quit going and buying it and doing it like all the time. But occasionally it would still be there, and I would do it. So I remember this one time before a show, this guy handed me the bag of pills, and I had done a little bit of that white beforehand. And I thought, I need something to calm me down. And somebody was like, "Oh, you should take one of those Xanax." And next thing you know, 3 days later, I mean, seriously, I was doing all that. And it was insane. And it's just, to get through that and to actually live through it is just, I think, an amazing thing. But yeah, so anyway, the band is growing, the band is getting bigger, and in those years, so Yesterday's Gone starts to blow up, right? We start getting label interest. It was making its rounds throughout the industry. That's what I mentioned that Fred Durst flew us to LA. He was really the first person that took interest in the band as far as, label type interest. There are other things going on as well too. There was management companies that were talking to us and all kinds of stuff. And at that time we were represented by Gotland Management, and they were Third Eye Blind's management, right? So things were just exploding. And in those moments, it makes you feel invincible. And, you just feel like you're above, like bad things happening. You just don't think. So you're just, we were just partying and partying and partying, and it's like it never stopped, right? So that's what that period of time was like. We ended up getting all the rounds and the labels. We come back to Dallas after that all happened. We wrote an entire record and threw Yesterday's Gone on there, and the next thing you know, it gets to radio and it blows up on radio, and to experience that was such an amazing thing. But the thing was, we were partying so hard in those days, and when I say we, I mean me and the singer. I hate to think back on what Corey and Ben must have felt like, us putting them in those positions where we would just be completely out of our minds. There was all kinds of crazy stuff happening. Me and the singer were getting in a couple times. We got into fights before the shows. I threw my guitar at him. I quit in the middle of a freaking show. It was stupid. It was just, so many times I look back and I just think, man, what could we have accomplished had we not been so stupid when it came to drugs, and alcohol? What could we have accomplished? Now, don't get me wrong, tons of bands out there have made it huge, doing those very things. But I just know that what drugs and alcohol did for me is I had fun in some instances, but it also just brought out the worst parts of who I am as a person. I think it does that to people. I think it's a very selfish thing to do. Especially when your friends and your family are having to watch it. They're watching you go through it. And, you're not being the best version of who you are. And, they're having to deal with the version of you that decided to show up that day. And you're putting everyone in your life, through hell, basically. You're putting yourself through hell, you're putting your body through hell, and you're putting everyone else in your life through hell. And you don't really even realize it in the moment. It's later when you look back and you're just like, I just can't believe I did that, So anyway, we're moving into that whole era where, we're on the road, we're touring, we're doing all this stuff, and Yesterday's Gone is blowing up. And a new substance showed up in my life. I'm going to get into this one. It's going to take a couple videos probably to explain the depth of what happened with this one, because I thought, when I look back, all of the other stuff, yes, it was crazy and insane, but this is when I actually looked at everything and went, man, you're an addict. You can't stop this. So I'm going to get into that in my next video, y'all. But listen, I'm appreciative of you being here every day with me and listening to these stories. I hope that I'm keeping it interesting for you guys. But I do want to say, if y'all have any comments or questions or anything, just comment down below and tell me. I'd love to hear from you guys, any stories that you may have. And I just want to thank you for being on this road to recovery with me. Hopefully this is going to help me and help you in the process of just being the best versions of ourselves. So look, guys, I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you again soon.